Hello and welcome back to Sprite Guard Plays, a story about my uncle. We were climbing up this tower, this deceptively difficult tower, where I was having quite a lot of trouble with what seemed like very easy jumps. And that was just downright careless of me. So we just need to jump from thing to thing. And I have been playing so much Lemma recently that I need to remember that the controls for this game are not the controls for that game. And that is not how you do that kind of jump. So I really need to be doing these kind of pogo stick jumps. And they are going to get me up high enough that I can just grapple to the next platform. But there is not a lot of tolerance for hitting the edge of things. So I have to be a little bit careful, and that's why I called this deceptively difficult, is because it seems like very, very simple things that I'm doing, but partly just due to my kind of carelessness, and partly just due to the sort of extended nature and repetitive nature of this, it ends up being more difficult than it looks. Or it ends up being a series of easy jumps that end up adding up to something that I have not been able to accomplish yet. And I'm not entirely sure where we're supposed to go once we are at the top of this thing. And I know that there were some kind of challenging jumps here where we ended up, ended up kind of having to cross over at the very top of our jump arc. And so that's something that I want to be watching out for. It looks like we're heading up here, and that may have been one of them, but we're going back down to the checkpoint now. And doing a running jump there is never going to get me where I want to go. Now, I think I could even do this in a single jump, but I feel like being careless has bit me so many times that... Oh, that's an odd place to land. Being careless has kind of bit me so many times, well, I guess that worked, that I'm not inclined to take a lot of extra risks. There's so much that has gone wrong in such a simple little area. And I think it's a really, really good way of kind of looking at how I relate to games and how I approach games, because this is not actually something that unusual for me. I have a tendency to kind of not give easier sections of games the respect that they deserve. And so I end up not doing very well. Alright, so here I want to do a flying leap and then a grapple. It's kind of, I think of that as kind of the Just Cause grapple, because in that game you end up very often grappling to the ground in order to kill your momentum. So now this part is very simple, just more pogo jumps. Now this part here, this is where things get a little bit confusing. Because I remember we went across this bridge, and I went up that bridge and tried to go over there, but now I'm looking at this, I'm thinking we actually are supposed to go up this way. And I just didn't look up, and there's a checkpoint. And now it's pointing us in this direction. So I'm really not sure where we're supposed to go from here. It seems like we're trying to get up there eventually, but there's nothing for us to grapple onto. So why is it that they took us to this ramp that we could walk up, but then they said, don't walk up it, go to this checkpoint instead? Or is that the one that we could walk up, and this one is in a different place? Ah, it appears that this one is in a different place, and one with an odd kind of glowing fragment that seems very strangely placed. I wonder how that got there. Let's see. So we are, I assume, still going up. Kind of looks like we want to go to that thing, but I believe we've gotten stuck there in the past. So I'm kind of doing some jumps to try and test things out. I believe that's just how we got up here in the first place, but it's a little bit difficult to tell. Oh yeah, because there is the flare. So are we supposed to go into this thing? No. That does seem appealing, though. It really seems like we're supposed to go up to that thing, but I really don't see how we're meant to do that. Unless it is like a power leap kind of... No, because the power leap does not take us as high. So one thing we can try, we can go down to this bridge thing, and we can just try jumping straight up here. And that actually... So it's actually much simpler than I thought it was. And that will take us over to that thing that I kept saying. I think that's where we're supposed to go. And it looks to be kind of a balance beam, so let us see if we can balance along it. And this is kind of reminding me of some hikes that I have gone on that have been on these kinds of trails, and I do not like walking along this kind of trail. It's fine in a game, I don't have any anxiety around it. Whoops! Because that happens, and then, hey, we're just right back here. We're doing fine. But on a real trail, I find that kind of unpleasant to walk along, just because I'm so concerned with my own safety that I can't really enjoy the view. And a lot of times, there are people moving in both directions, and it becomes very difficult, very awkward to navigate. Now, my lemma instinct really wants me to run along that wall, but that is not what we want to do here. And it looks like we are continuing to climb up. Looks like there are even higher columns above us. More and more of these light up charge points. Though I do not think that this area had the same kind of nerfing that some of the other parts of the game got. So it looks like we're heading over here. And up there. Whoops. Alright, give it another shot. Now where are we going this time? Looks like there is kind of a ring around the top of this area. And it looks like there is a grapple queue over here. We have not seen any of those in quite a while. I am so sorry about the dogs upstairs. My upstairs neighbors have some very badly behaved dogs, and they do not misbehave as much when the neighbors are home, but they are really noisy a lot of the time, and when the people upstairs are gone, the dogs just lose it. That was not what I wanted to happen. Oh my goodness, we're all the way back here. Okay. So this is, once again, this kind of, much like getting up here was, it's this very simple sequence of actions, but one mistake is total reset. Not total reset, because we have collected one checkpoint in this area. I think it's really odd that they put this kind of platforming into this part of the game. I was really expecting a lot more of the kind of swinging and flying You know what, we can just, yeah, we can do that. I always thought it was a little odd that you have these two jumps. You have this quick jump, and then you have the high jump. I thought that was a cool mechanic. I love those jumps. There's something very satisfying about those jumps where you exactly get to the height that you need. That's not actually what I'm trying to do. But we'll be fine if we do that. Now continuing on upward. There's just so many different, really satisfying ways of moving around in this game. There we go. And that looks like a checkpoint. Nope, it's just a grapple queue. Okay, so now it looks like we have to do a bit of a longer jump here. And I should have listened to that grapple cue. And now we are back here. Oh my goodness. This is quite challenging. And it seems, I keep coming back to this, but it seems so easy. It seems like what I'm doing is so simple, and yet I'm having so much difficulty with it. And I'm always that's something that happens all the time. It's like I am constantly running into things that feel like I should be able to do them really easily, and they're presenting a big challenge and I'm failing a lot. And you would think eventually I would get used to that I would stop being surprised by it at least. Where am I going from here? I think I seem to have lost track of where the next... Ah, there it is. A couple nice little zip lines here. Whoops! Managed to actually salvage that one. That's good. And up there. Up there. This is another one. There may be a shortcut here. I don't really want to take the risks to find it, though it may have been worthwhile. Well, where did that put us? Back here. I think pretty much at the bottom. Not quite as bad as a reset, but put us pretty far back. Oh, that was just a mistake. A salvageable mistake, though. We're kind of up on these boulders. We can actually get to the next part of the challenge. There we go. And then from here, so let's see. We can just kind of get a really shallow angle on that one. And that's enough. Now, we have this one. There we go. And of course, the closer we get to a checkpoint, the more disappointing it is when we fail to reach it. But once again, we seem to have not lost all of our progress. Well, now we probably have. No, because we're still over by... Well, being by this grapple queue means that we've pretty much lost all of our progress. Though, once again, still not as bad as getting reset to the previous checkpoint that is actually outside of this area. So I'm gonna try and take this one step at a time. Might be able to swing that. Doesn't really seem necessary. And having that rock blocking the way is gonna cause problems more likely than not. Whoop! Oh, jeez. Where did that put us? Oh, all the way back here. So that very nearly as bad as going back to the checkpoint. I didn't even know we could fall down here. Oh yeah. Really is just kind of a circular climb. I'm always a little bit unsure of how to treat these episodes where it's just kind of me bashing my head against a single problem. You know, I can say, well, we have in the amount of time that I usually like to run episodes for, we have advanced a single checkpoint. And we have really encountered a lot of challenges, and a lot of really fun challenges, but a lot of challenges that are going to probably take more time than I am really happy having an entire episode go for. Forgot you're not supposed to grapple that one. And so it kind of comes to the question, well, do I edit out parts of it? Or do I just keep bashing away at it? You know, do I say, okay, well, we've had this much progress, and in the next episode we'll probably have a little tiny bit more progress? But then what happens if we have no progress in an episode? That is, given the way things have been going, that's entirely conceivable. So then, do I put up an episode where we make no progress? Or do I trim things down a bit and try and focus on getting through? So close. And now we're all the way back here. And I know that in watching these, it can be very frustrating to see someone make the same mistakes over and over again. I find that that can actually be more frustrating than making the mistakes yourself, because I can be here very calm and say, you know, the game and my hands are kind of trying to give me trouble, and so I can kind of take that as an emotional challenge and say, you know, I'm not going to give them the pleasure, kind of, is, like, my hands don't really actually care about anything, and the game certainly doesn't. But I can kind of tell a story to myself that changes the way I think about the game. And I can kind of put it in these terms of, you know, by not having an emotional reaction, I am in some way winning some greater game, or doing some kind of greater challenge. Even though, probably, for me, remaining emotionally regulated is actually easier than making it through these jumps without falling. Because I've put a lot of practice into that. It's actually a kind of challenge that I have thought a lot about. Alright, that should get us on there. Yes. And now up here. And there, we got the checkpoint. Alright. And now we have an even narrower balance beam to walk along. And I discovered, of course I'm probably the last person to discover this, but I discovered Minecraft's walk button that keeps you from falling off edges. And that kind of changed the way I played that game and changed the way that I thought about it. But we do not have that here, as far as I am aware. Alright. Where are we now? Are we still going up this? It looks like we certainly are. It looks like we have some jumps, some grapple jumps to pull off. So I want to figure out kind of what the intended path is. Ah. This is interactable.
How could Fred leave stuff behind everywhere? How much was he carrying?
As I remember it, Fred wasn't that good at keeping track of all his things. Like you.
Hey, it's not like you're any better.
Sorry. Anyway, Fred counted on losing a few things on each of his journeys. He always brought more stuff than he needed. For a paddling trip we had, he brought so many life jackets, we could barely fit ourselves in the canoes.
Isn't it hard to lose track of a life jacket if you're wearing it?
Good point. I guess he didn't really think of that.
Alright, well that's one way of approaching it. And I think probably a fairly effective one. I know that I have kind of done similar things. So let's see, is this the one that we can get up? Yeah. There we go. And then there's a grapple point over here. Very tricky to hit. There we go. And that puts us, let's see. We're getting up to the point where I think we need to start thinking about these things. And it looks like we may actually need to do a recharge. Ah, just missed that. Okay. Well, we seem to be stuck. And that's going to put us back at the checkpoint, yes. So, we need to remember what we're doing. We need to be very careful here. And I think I'm going to give it one more shot, and then if we do not make it up to the next checkpoint, or even if we do, I'm going to wrap it up after this next attempt, because we are getting to the length that I like these videos to be. We've had a little bit of exposition. Things have overall gone very well, even in light of the fact that they've been very challenging and we have not really made as much progress as I would like. And of course, sometimes I just go quiet from concentration, and that's something that I personally tend to dislike in Let's Plays. There we go, got that. And then recharge. Or I can just miss several times and fall all the way back down. So that's where I'm going to leave it. In the next episode, we will continue to try and climb up this chimney. This incredibly challenging chimney that I really did not expect to be. It's interesting. The part that I expected to be incredibly difficult ended up not taking very long and ended up not being as difficult as I expected, and the part that seemed like it was very easy has turned out to be very challenging, and it looks like now we're getting into some grapple jumps and some recharge jumps that will make the ascent very interesting. We may be getting into some of the stuff that I was really excited about in this portion of the game. So I hope that you will join me in the future as we continue to climb up here. But most of all, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.